about to say something that most course creators won't like. If your students aren't finishing your course, it might not be their fault. It might be yours. Because student engagement isn't the student's responsibility. It's the course creators. Now, before you click away or you start arguing with me, hear me out. Most people who buy an online course genuinely want to succeed. They pull out their credit card, they invest their money, they start excited, they want the transformation, and yet most never reach the finishing line. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack discipline, but because somewhere along the way, they stopped feeling engaged. After years of working in the learning and development, I learned something that completely changed how I design courses. People don't disengage because online learning doesn't work. They disengage because the learning experience wasn't designed to keep them engaged. In this video, I'll show you the biggest mistakes course creators make, the psychology behind keeping people engaged, and simple strategies you can use to dramatically improve your course completion, student results, and the testimonies that grow your business. Hi, I'm Hayley and welcome back to the Insert Here project. If you don't know that this channel is all about helping entrepreneurs, course creators, and business owners turn what they know into profitable assets. Whether that's a course, a digital product, a personal brand, or even help with an entire business. Today we're talking about something I think is far more important than course platforms or fancy technology or even marketing. Student engagement. Because creating a course people buy is one thing, but creating a course people actually finish, that is a completely different skill. And honestly, that is where the real magic happens. Because completion creates transformation. Transformation creates testimonies, and testimonials create growth. Everything starts with engagement. So let's dive in. Before we talk about engagement, we need to understand something deeper. Why do people buy courses in the first place? Because it isn't for information. Information is everywhere. YouTube, Google, artificial intelligence. People buy courses because they're buying hope. Hope that things can improve. Hope that they can finally figure something out. Hope they can solve a problem. Hope they can have a different version of themselves. When someone buys your course, they're standing at the start of their journey. They're excited. The problem is that excitement eventually fades. Motivation fades. Life gets busy. Work happens. Kid happens. Stress, distractions. The people who complete courses aren't necessarily more motivated. They simply experience fewer friction points. And your job as a course creator is reducing friction wherever possible. Because every unnecessary obstacle increases the chances of someone actually giving up. That brings us to one of the biggest mistakes I see course creators make. A mistake that sounds helpful, but actually really hurts engagement. I know why creators do this. They genuinely care. They want students to get incredible value. So they create 20 modules, 100 lessons, and 50 worksheets, hours of bonus content, endless resources, and they proudly tell people, look at how much value is included. But here's the problem. More content doesn't automatically create more value. Sometimes it creates overwhelm. Imagine walking into a restaurant. You sit down and the menu is 200 pages long. How do you feel? Excited or overwhelmed? Most likely overwhelmed, because too much choice creates decision fatigue. The same thing happens in courses. When students see mountains of content, they start thinking, this is going to take forever. I don't have time. Oh look, I'll come back to this later. And later often becomes never. The goal isn't to impress people with volume. The goal is to help them achieve a result. Sometimes the best course isn't the biggest, it's the clearest. One of the biggest lessons I've learned about learning is this. People stay engaged when they feel progress, not when they receive information. Progress. Think about fitness. The reason people keep going isn't because they learn another workout technique. It's because they noticed that they could lift more or run further, move better. They saw evidence of progress, and learning works the same way. Your students need to feel wins, early wins, frequent wins, visible wins. They need moments where they go, wow, oh my God, I actually understand this. Oh my God, this is working. I get it. These moments create momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful engagement tools you have. Because once someone starts seeing results, they want more. Let's talk about something that I almost no one ever talks about. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest reasons people quit. Most course creators think learning is intellectual. It's not. It's emotional. People experience frustration, self-doubt, confusion, fear, embarrassment, overwhelmed. And if you ignore these emotions, people disengage. Let's say someone joins your course on starting a business. The information might be clear, the process might be logical, but emotionally, they may still be terrified of failure, terrified of judgment, terrified of putting themselves out there. If your course only teaches information and never addresses emotion, you're missing half of the learner experience. The best educators understand both. They teach the strategy and then they coach the mindset, because the transformation happens when people overcome internal barriers and not just the external ones. Now, let me tell you something that completely changed how I teach. People remember stories. They forget about information. Think about the last book or movie or podcast or presentation that truly impacted you. What do you remember? The bullet points or the story? I'm going to say most likely the story. Because stories create meaning, stories create emotion, stories create memories. Stories help people see themselves inside the lesson. That's why the best course creators don't simply explain concepts. They tell stories, client stories, personal stories, failure, success stories. Stories that create a connection, because connection creates engagement. One of the fastest ways to lose engagement is making it passive. Watch a video, watch this video. Oh, here's another video. That's not learning. That's content consumption. Real learning requires participation, reflection, action, application, practice. People don't always learn by watching. They learn by doing. Imagine trying to learn how to ride a bike by watching 6 videos or hours of videos. At some point, you've got to get on the bike. And your course should create opportunities for that. Small actions, simple exercises, reflection prompts, implementation challenges, anything that moves people from just being consumers to also having action. Because action creates results, and it creates engagement. This might be one of the most important lessons in the entire video. People don't quit because they forgot the content. They quit because they forget the reason they started. Remember what I said earlier. People buy hope. Hope is powerful at the beginning, but over time, it fades. That's why great educators continually reconnect students with their goals, their vision, their transformation, their why. Because when people remember what they're working towards, why they started, they're far more likely to keep moving forward. The best courses don't just teach lessons, they sustain motivation, and that's a very different skill. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. Student engagement isn't about entertaining, it's about progress. It's about reducing friction, creating momentum, building confidence, supporting emotions, encouraging action, and helping people experience meaningful wins along the way. Because your students don't need more information, they need a learning experience that helps keep them moving forward. And when you create that, something incredible happens. People don't just complete your course. They transform because of it. And that's the difference between a course people buy and a course people remember and one that they recommend. I'd love to know in the comments, what's the best online course you've ever completed and what actually kept you engaged the whole way through? I'd love to hear about your experiences. And if you're interested in course creation, online education, branding, and social media, make sure you subscribe, because that's exactly what we talk about here on the Insert Here project. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, people don't finish courses, because they're motivated. They finish courses because the learning experience makes it easier to keep going than to quit. I'll see you in my next video.